Uh-oh.
Okay, we'll start with this. On the heels of her first professional loss, former champion Dixon says, "I've tasted being a world champion, and now it's been taken away from me. I am more motivated than ever to get that back. I want the rematch with Terry." I've tried not to think about the fight. There's nothing I can do about it now. The opening words of a reflective Dixon. It was just over a week removed since Dixon suffered her first professional loss, her defeat of any kind inside a boxing ring. Unbeaten in 7 white-collar fights and 10 fights in the paid ranks, Dixon has now seen the other side of the sport. A painful side that leaves the mind unsettled and no easy answers. Obviously, people who go through the amateurs have experienced losing before, Dixon told me over Zoom. But I have never experienced it before because I only had those 7 white-collar fights. This was my first defeat, and it was on the biggest stage in the biggest fight of my life. It's just shit. Dixon lost her WBO World Lightweight title to Terry Harper in Sheffield on September 28th. A points decision took away her WBO bauble and her unblemished resume. 2 days later, Dixon was on a plane heading to a pre-booked holiday, a distraction to try and stop her mind from wandering and drifting back to a fight that didn't go her way. This could be a blessing in disguise for Rhiannon, because now that she's not a champion, she doesn't have all those targets on her back. When you're a world champion, people are going to come after you. Not just the contenders in the ranks, but the other champions too. And with just 11 professional fights, as talented as I think she is, that put her in Beatrice Ferreira's crosshairs. That put her in Caroline Dubois' crosshairs. Fights that I didn't favor her to win. I think she needs to develop more. Because we went away, I haven't been to the gym and talked the fight through with everyone. I have just been distracting myself at the moment, Dixon says of her current mindset. In the 10th round, when Anthony Crolla said I needed to knock her out, Dixon told Fight Post of when reality hit home that her world title reign was in serious jeopardy. But in truth, she knew long before that. I could feel it while I was in there. I can remember thinking I needed to change it up a bit. The Warrington fighter added when I delved a little deeper into her in-fight thoughts. There was one moment in the fight where the trajectory of it suddenly changed. Behind on points, Dixon suddenly found some momentum. A big right hand landed with real menace, and Harper looked in a world of trouble. I thought in the 6th round that she was very badly hurt, Dixon relayed to me. She grabbed onto me for dear life, but Terry has still got very strong legs, and when she is hurt, they seem to keep her up. When that punch landed, I thought I had got it. I just wished I had stepped back instead of loading up. I know I can hurt people. I just need to learn how to finish them off. I need to watch the fight back. It's different watching it from being in there. Terry Harper and her team made her greater experience a big part of the pre-fight narrative, and that was how the fight played out. You could see in the fight that while as the fight progressed, Terry was able to keep her shape and stick to the plan where Rhiannon wasn't. She was losing her shape, losing form, and it became a losing effort. A good example of that old saying, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, because Rhiannon got off to a good start. She actually did, but as the fight progressed, she started to unravel. They knew not to rush because that was when she is vulnerable, so she was just doing enough, an acknowledgement from the former champion that perhaps Harper just knew a lot too much for her on the night. It's what I said immediately after the fight. Rhiannon Dixon got off to a fast start, but she didn't pace herself.
Terry Harper did because she knows to do that. She's more experienced.
I think I just went in with the wrong mentality, Dixon admitted. I didn't think it would be easy. I just thought it would be more of a fight than a boxing match. I just didn't do anything that I do well. The things I have done well in the past, I didn't do any of that. I was too busy focusing on other stuff. I steered away from what makes me good. You should just do what you do well. Despite being in somewhat of a reflective mode, Dixon still has one eye on what's next. An extra little bit of motivation and desire to run it back with Terry Harper. I've tasted being a world champion, and now it's been taken away from me. I am more motivated than ever to get that back. I want the rematch with Terry, though can she get it? Or does Terry lose the WBO title to someone else before that happens?
That's possible. Now that Terry's a lightweight champion, she's in Beatrice Ferreira's crosshairs, Carolyn Dubois' crosshairs.
It won't be long till they're hounding her and sounding her name out, calling her out. It won't be long.
So here's the blessing in disguise. Now that Rhiannon Dixon is not a champion anymore, she doesn't have all those targets on her back, so she is allowed to further develop without that pressure, that added pressure of being a champion and having mandatories or other champions that want to unify with you.
She doesn't have that burden, and that can be beneficial. At just 10-0 going into the Harper fight, she didn't have a whole lot of experience. You know, she doesn't come from some deep amateur background, and as a professional, she didn't have that many fights to begin with. Even though she was a world champion, I don't think Rhiannon was fully developed.
But you picked her to win.
And I was wrong. I saw in the fight, those eggs need more bacon. She wasn't able to pace herself. I chalk that up to a lack of experience, and that's all right.
It's okay.
Because it's not like she got ragdolled in the fight or brutalized in the fight. She got off to a decent start. She just couldn't maintain it, that momentum.
Experience, more fights, more rounds in the bank. That can change that. That's the hardest that Rhiannon Dixon has ever been pushed by anyone.
Though she didn't look bad, she just looked inexperienced. For me and my money, Rhiannon Dixon, as bad as she would like to, I don't think she should be in a rush to get back into world title contention. If she can have 2 to 3 experience fights building herself back up, I think she should. I think she needs them.
Just one man's opinion. Feel free to disagree.
But if it's possible for her to have 2, maybe even 3 fights before fighting Terry again or fighting for a title again, I think she really needs them.
She needs to.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, Bill Haney, the father of Devin Haney, said, Ryan had his shot to step up, but we respect our time and the sport. We're moving forward to bigger things. If he can make peace with how he handled it, so can we. Champions don't wait.
2 days ago, Bill Haney took to his social media giving Ryan an ultimatum and a deadline that he had 48 hours to sign up to voluntary anti-doping testing for a Devin Haney rematch.
Ryan responded by saying, you'd have to be dumb if you think I'm going to listen to what Bill Haney requests. First of all, they are suing me. Second of all, I don't need them at all. Laughing my ass off.
So in other words, you're not signing up.
That he doesn't want to sign up for anti-doping testing. Why am I not surprised? I mean, Ryan is so obviously guilty. If it looks like he cheated, it's because he cheated.
This is just another glaring example.
This is all in relation to a potential rematch that, even if it doesn't happen next, I still feel like they'll revisit it in the coming year, if for no other reason than all the money that it's worth. Controversy sells, folks. Whether you like it or not, controversy has a way of mustering up business. And the controversy between these two...
It's good for business.
Ryan says he doesn't need them at all. A content creator that goes by the name Two-Tone the Superstar replied, I told them you're the A with unlimited options. People called me the ops and gay. I've noticed an influx of content creators and people online going up to bat for Ryan Garcia, and it's not because I think they believe his story, it's because they want to attach themselves to his celebrity so they can siphon off followers from him, that if they talk up Ryan and defend Ryan, some of those people that follow Ryan will follow them.
Clout chasing.
Even if it means sucking at the proverbial teat and groveling before what is so obviously a guilty fighter, they don't care. So long as it's good for metrics, it's good for them.
Sell your soul, why don't you?
Is Ryan Garcia the the proverbial A-side with unlimited options, well, I think we can all agree that he's definitely the A-side to Devin Haney, and that Devin needs this rematch a bit more than Ryan, but Ryan having unlimited options, that's what I'm at odds with. That's what I don't agree with. He doesn't have that many high-profile options at 147 pounds.
If he doesn't fight Devin next, who does he fight?
And where? Because he's not going to make 140 pounds. He never actually made it to begin with. That upon moving up from 135, he never actually made 140. Every fight he's had since then has been fought just above 140 pounds.
So he'll fight as a welterweight.
But against who? It's not that there are no welterweights around or no welterweights who would want to fight Ryan. I think there are plenty of welterweights who would want to fight Ryan. But would Ryan want to fight them? Would he want to roll the dice with them? The advantages in terms of height and length and strength that you may have had over guys at 135 and guys at 140, you may not have against the welters.
It's riskier and it's for less money because those guys, fights with those guys, they don't have the same profile of a Devin Haney rematch.
A Devin Haney rematch, because of the controversy, might sell upwards of 1 million pay-per-view buys. I don't rule it out that when the second fight rolls around, people are going to want to see it and want to see what happens. But if it's somebody else,
it's not as interesting.
I think a Teofimo Lopez fight would do decent business, but he's all wrapped up in that situation with Top Rank and trying to achieve free agency. Doesn't look like he's available to fight Ryan or anybody else.
Not without Top Rank's blessing.
The welterweight champions are all preoccupied. Jaron Ennis will be fighting Karen Chukadzian for the second time. Mario Barrios will be boxing on the undercard of Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. A Montes Stanionis is currently under orders to satisfy his mandatory challenger, Shakram Gayasov.
And Brian Norman is out injured.
There's nobody available right now. Not that Ryan Garcia can fight right now anyway, because he can't. He's suspended. When he comes back in April, maybe one of these guys will be free, though a fight with one of these guys ain't bigger than a Devin Haney fight. And a fight with one of these guys, it's not as winnable as a Devin Haney fight.
With Devin, you know you can hurt him, you know you can drop him, you know that you can come close to stopping him with Devin. But with these other guys, these bigger guys...
So, all I see is that Bill gave Ryan a deadline to enroll in anti-doping testing, and Ryan didn't want to do it.
And he's supposed to be innocent. I'm supposed to believe he's innocent.
Told you why. Bill wants the anti-doping testing to start now to ensure that during the off-season, Ryan isn't on something. Because if he is, he will have received the benefit of those banned substances by the time the fight rolls around, and the substances will be out of his system.
That's the logic, and you see Ryan's response. You see, he doesn't want to comply, he's not on board. Make of that what you will.
In men's junior middleweight news, you may have heard late yesterday that Hurricane Milton could move Tim Tszyu versus Bakram Murtazaliev. As Hurricane Milton makes landfall in Tampa, Florida, head-on with winds of over 125 miles per hour, due to this storm and the uncertainty of the damage it may cause to the Orlando area, the IBF junior middleweight title fight between Tim Tszyu and Bakram Murtazaliev on October 19th could be moved to another state. No Limit Boxing CEO George Rose spoke to the media about the potential of the fight being moved if he gets the call that the storm will affect the Orlando area. As of now, Rose stated that the fight is still on for next Saturday in Orlando, but that they are looking at multiple venues, primarily in Vegas, where, according to Rose, PBC can make a fight happen at the last minute based on the relationship they have with the venues there. Rose said he wants to keep the fight date even if they move the venue. With regard to Murtazaliev, Rose noted that there has been little communication with him, and he's been hard to get a hold of when it came to promoting the fight.
Obscure inside and outside of the ring. Bakram Murtazaliev, very little is known about the newly crowned IBF champion.
I think we know more about Hurricane Milton than we know about him. In a press release by No Limit Boxing, Tszyu said, "My thoughts are with everyone in the path of Hurricane Milton. It's a terrible situation, and I hope everyone stays safe. At the same time, I'm focused and ready to fight wherever and whenever we get the news. Nothing will stop me from becoming a two-time world champion. The next 48 hours will be interesting, and the chances of the fight being moved to another state are pretty high, given the level of uncertainty in Florida concerning Hurricane Milton." This is a problem that's created by Tszyu's focus, his drive to fight in America instead of his native Australia. We understand why.
You know why now? He said it himself. It's always been his dream to come here and fight here and make it in America because he still views the American market as being the mecca of boxing, the centerpiece, the hub for it all.
Even though it isn't. This really isn't your father's era of boxing, but in any event, we understand that much. That comes with problems. That comes with uncertainty. Florida seemed a bizarre location for the fight to begin with. A fight between an Australian and a Russian.
Come on.
And they're saying they can make reasonable accommodation in a short amount of time if that's what it comes to, if that's what they have to do. Move it to Vegas.
Isn't that going to affect the gate receipts, the ticket sales, that they're suddenly moving it to a different location?
It might, though not by that much, because how hot a ticket do you think it is that Tszyu, an Australian, is fighting a Russian in Florida? I mean, how many people did you think were going to show up? If they move it, it may seem inconsequential because I think most of the money this fight is going to generate isn't even in America. It's in Australia where it's being billed as a pay-per-view
on Foxtel.
That's why they're able to build this fight as the PBC's lone non-pay-per-view fight for the entirety of this calendar year, because they're not relying on the American market to buy it, they're relying on the Australian one.
Why didn't they do that the last time? Why didn't they do that with the Fundora fight?
Perhaps they were greedy. They figured somebody in America is going to buy it, somebody will pay-per-view, and when nobody did, they learned from their mistake. If you look at the undercard for this show, there's not a lot there for an American audience.
You don't see any PBC All-Stars on it.
They're saving those guys for what box office fights they are doing in December and January, later on into the coming year.
It doesn't look like they have any shows scheduled next month. Gervonta Davis's ring return is set to be going down in December. David Benavidez's ring return is set to be going down in January. Sometime afterwards, Errol Spence is supposed to come back and fight Sebastian Fundora.
Those are the shows that we know about, but no announcements about a show in November. No announcements about a show next month. Next weekend's Tszyu fight will be the only fight the PBC puts on for the next 2 months.
Jesus Christ.
They are just slugging along and doing what they can, not being held accountable by members of the media.
That this is the only non-pay-per-view show they're doing the entirety of this year, and it's taken them approximately 9-10 months to do it.
I think they're just turning a blind eye to the state of affairs at the PBC right now because for whatever reason, they don't want to put Al Heyman or his PBC in a negative light. By the time that this video is uploaded, news could break that Tszyu versus Murtazaliev has been moved to a different location.
So they're not completely useless.
But Tim wouldn't have this problem to begin with if he didn't insist on fighting in America, in Florida, of all places.